Video 8. Movement of Prana. Prana is the vital force which sustains this body. It's the force which allows life to continue to express through this body. Now, while prana exists at a very subtle level, it's expressive at 3 different levels. When we sit down to meditate and we endeavor to observe the flow of prana, we do so primarily or initially at the gross level, where we are observing the flow of breath in terms of our inhalation and exhalation. And we can notice it by noticing the currents of air flowing through the nostrils, the movement of our lung cavity, the movement of our abdominal cavity. And so we can observe prana expressing at a gross physical level. But prana is also moving at a more subtle level, at a cellular level. So as we inhale and we take the oxygen into our lungs, we're not actually able to notice or perceive the cells absorbing this oxygen and then moving it around the body and delivering it to the different tissues around the body. It's not something that we're able to observe. But we're able to observe the movement of breath and the flow of inhalation and exhalation. And as we continue with that process of observation, we begin to move away from simply observing it at an external level and become aware of it at a more subtle level. But prana also occurs at an extremely subtle level in terms of how this vital force, when it's moving around the body, influences the movements in the mind. So prana occurs at a physical level, it occurs at an energetic level, and it occurs at a mental level. Or we can say that prana occurs at a physical level, an emotional level, and then a mental level. Or we could say prana occurs at a physical level, an astral level, and a causal level. So whatever the terminology we use, we're basically endeavoring to appreciate the fact that prana exists as a vital force which creates this body and which sustains this body. And when we sit to meditate, we're endeavoring to move in a reverse direction, moving away from the gross to the more subtle, to the subtlest level. Now, as this oxygen which enters into the body is delivered to the cells in the body, depending on the capacity that we have to deliver this oxygen successfully and effectively to each of the cells around the body and to all the tissues around the body, that will influence how the well-being of the body. And then in turn, how well that our body processes the oxygen that we receive will influence how we are processing data within our brains. So we can look at it in terms of modern scientific perspective, but we can also look at it at a more deeper intuitive level, where this force which is sustaining all of life is moving through our bodies and sustaining us. And we can become aware of it through observing our physical bodies, but then also observing our emotional state and then observing our mental state. And so through the practice of pranayama breathing techniques, we're able to regulate the movement of prana, but the process is twofold. Through regulating it, first of all, we need to be aware of it. So through being aware of it, we refine our attention, and then by regulating it, we help to refine our attention even more, but we also allow for its free flowing throughout the mind-body system. And this is beneficial for our overall well-being on a physical, emotional, and mental level, but it's also beneficial for our being able to observe it at a very subtle level.